Chapter 1. I was never much of a lover when I was alive, but all of that changed once my heart stopped beating. My name is Peter Lyles, and I'm dead. Trust me, I know how that sounds, like an admission of guilt or the beginning of some kind of 12-step program for the recently deceased. But stay with me on this. I promise it won't be all doom and gloom. Death isn't quite the tragedy I was told it would be. Take, for example, the fact that death has greatly improved my sex life. One day I'm struggling to find the nerve to even talk to a girl. The next, I get more bangs than a fireworks factory on the 4th of July. Imagine my surprise. It was even more of a shock than returning from the grave. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It all started my sophomore year in college. April of '85, right after my 18th birthday. Things were different then. Reagan was just sworn in for a second term. Madonna was big on the airwaves. I thought I had my whole life ahead of me. Spring break rolled around, so the guys and I took a run down to New Orleans for a little well-deserved R&R. For me, that meant rest and relaxation. For the other three, it meant reefer and roofies. Our pal Mooch was a local, so with his help we stayed off the beaten path and away from the touristy hangouts. In other words, the guys could stay wasted 24/7 without running into much authority, which was fine with me. I wasn't much into the partying scene. Midterms had just about wiped me out, and I was all about the rest, and maybe a little relaxation. Trouble was, I couldn't wind down. No matter how much I tried, I couldn't seem to still my mind. It was coiled up tighter than a snake, filled with the venom of theorems and chemical compounds and anatomy charts and literature quotes. And if I didn't get some rest soon, I was going to lose my tiny little mind. "What you need is some weed," Jack said. Jack was always a fan of the herb, staying jacked up on the wacky tobacco most of his waking hours. How he managed to make his way through classes from year to year was beyond me. Personally, I never liked the idea of smoking, tobacco or otherwise. I tried a cigarette once. After I coughed myself to the point of pissing, I regained my ability to breathe and swore I'd never go that route again. "What you need is to get laid," Mooch said. That was Mooch all over. He thought sex was the answer to everything. Of course, for him, it was. That man was a panty-dropping machine. For me, however, sex was a little harder to come by. Granted, Mooch had a few years on me, still in his second year of college at 23, and the eldest among us. At the time, I thought that even if I were given an equal amount of years to make up for it, there's no way I could ever have hoped to catch up with his level of female conquest. How little we know till we arrive. So there I was, longing for sleep like a fat kid craved cake, and all I had to tuck me in were an illegal substance and an impossible dream. Dave came to my pharmaceutical rescue. "What you need is sedatives," he said. Dave had abandoned the simplicity of weed years ago in favor of pill-shaped happiness. He was well known across our campus as Drugstore Dave. "I don't know," I said. "I don't want to get hooked on anything." "Who said anything about hooked?" Dave asked. "They're sleeping pills, not crack, you dickhead." He waggled one of his infamous baggies at me before he dropped it in my lap. Little white beauties teased me through the clear plastic, taunting me with their smoothness devoid of numbers, letters, or any identifying marks whatsoever. "What are they?" I asked. "Some over-the-counter thing," Dave said. "In a zip-top bag?" Dave shrugged. "What? I got them for half price 'cause the bottle was busted." "So what are they?" "I don't remember the brand name. The only thing I remember is they're a really low dose, like for kids or old folks or something. You might need to take a few to get some sleep." I eyed the plastic baggie as I mulled over his words. Naturally, I was wary, but I was also desperate. I hadn't had a decent night's sleep in nearly 3 weeks. So down the pills went. Then down I went. Neither the pills nor I got back up that night. I never blamed the guys for what they did to me. I still don't. Hell, if it weren't for their screw-up, I'd probably be behind some boring desk filling out boring forms for the rest of my boring life instead of... But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. No, I don't blame them. They were just trying to help out a friend in need. Indeed. Funny thing was, even though I qualified for the big dirt nap, I remember everything they said and did with terrifying clarity. It was as though my spirit spent the next few hours hanging out, watching the action, like it knew I was due to come back. The guys closed the door on my part of the suite once the pills put me under. A few hours later, Jack found me lying face down on the hotel bed just as he left me, but by now I was blue as ice and every bit as chilled. He was the first to panic. Jack had a tendency to freak out over every little thing, so I imagine the death of his best friend hit him the hardest. "He's not breathing, man," Jack said as he stooped over my still form. He backed away from my body, doing that weird little dance he did when things got too heavy for him. Toe to toe, foot to foot, he swayed, his thin frame shaking with what I assumed was fear. "He's been out for 3 hours, and now he's not breathing. Guys!" "Oops," Dave said, retrieving the baggie from my now cold fingers. "What does oops mean?" Jack asked. "What the hell does oops mean?" "It means those weren't sleeping pills," Dave confessed. "What did you give him?" Mooch asked. "Atoms," Dave said as he sifted through the remaining pills. "About 5 of them." "Holy shit," Mooch said. That got even Dave and Mooch doing the worry two-step all over the place. No wonder, too, seeing as how our old friend Adam was involved. Kids these days call that intimate little trip in the form of a white pill by a different name. Ecstasy. "Oh my God," Dave cried. "We killed him." "What's this wee shit?" Mooch asked, drawing up to his full height. "It was your dope." "Yeah, but you got them for me, man," Dave said. Mooch slumped back to his usual lumbering form. "We killed him," Jack echoed. "We killed Peter." "We gotta think," Dave said. "Think about what?" Mooch asked. "How to hide the body?" "You got it," Dave said. "You can't be serious," Jack protested. "We can't just leave him like this." "What else can we do?" Dave asked. "We don't have a choice." "We can't," Jack said. "He's our friend." "Was our friend," Mooch said. "He's worm food now, man." "But," Jack started. "Look, asshole," Dave said, backing Jack into the corner of the room. "Everyone who knows Peter knows he's a prude. He don't drink, he don't fuck, and he certainly don't do drugs. So who are they gonna blame this on, huh?" Jack turned a fine shade of white. I would have loved to lay Dave out for putting Jack in that kind of position, but the guy had a point. When I was alive, I was the king of self-denial. I might accept a few sedatives, sure, but there was no way folks would believe I had taken 5 atoms on my own. They were screwed.